All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning. I am Sarabjit Kaur and with me is Vaibhav Jyotsna Srivastav. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi stresses on taking decisive steps to stem nationwide spread of COVID-19. Electioneering gains momentum in poll-bound states. Leaders from various political parties crisscross the states for campaigning. Supply of vaccines abroad under Vaccine Maitri is on assessment of adequate domestic availability, government informs Parliament. 520 Kashmiri migrants returned to the valley after abrogation of Article 370, says Minister of State for Home G. Kishan Reddy in Rajya Sabha. Italy joins International Solar Alliance under the amended ISA Framework Agreement. Tanzanian President John Magufuli passes away following a heart ailment. In cricket, fourth T20 match to be played between India and England this evening. And in All England Badminton Championships, mixed fortune for Indian shuttlers. PV Sindhu advances to the second round, Saina Nehwal knocks out. As the nation fights the COVID-19 pandemic, we begin the bulletin with a message of precaution to stay safe and protected by following these three simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki doori for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has stressed the need to take quick and decisive steps to stop the emerging second peak of corona immediately.
हमें कोरोना की उस उभरती हुई सेकंड पीक को तुरंत रोकना ही होगा और इसके लिए हमें क्विक और डिसाइसिव कदम उठाने होंगे। कई जगह देखने को मिल रहा है कि मास्क को लेकर अब स्थानीय प्रशासन द्वारा भी उतनी गंभीरता नहीं दिखाई जा रही। मेरा आग्रह है कि स्थानीय स्तर पर गवर्नेंस को लेकर जो भी दिक्कत है उनकी पड़ताल, उनकी समीक्षा की जानी और उन दिक्कतों को सुलझाया जाना, ये मैं समझता हूं वर्तमान में बहुत आवश्यक है। मैं समझता हूं कि ये गुड गवर्नेंस की परीक्षा का भी समय है। कोरोना की लड़ाई में हम आज जहां तक पहुंचे हैं उसमें और उससे जो आत्मविश्वास आया है, ये आत्मविश्वास हमारी ये सफलता लापरवाही में भी नहीं बदलनी चाहिए।
He warned that a countrywide outbreak can occur if this growing pandemic is not stopped now. Interacting with the chief ministers of various states yesterday regarding the COVID-19 situation via video conference, Prime Minister stressed the importance of solving the problems of local governance. He expressed concern about the high test positivity rate in Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh and rising cases in Punjab.
हमारे देश में भी कुछ राज्यों में केसेस कम होने के बाद अचानक से वृद्धि होने लगी। आप सभी इन पर ध्यान दे रहे हैं, लेकिन फिर भी कुछ राज्यों का उल्लेख हुआ है, जैसे महाराष्ट्र है, पंजाब है। हम ये भी देख रहे हैं कि महाराष्ट्र और एमपी में टेस्ट पॉजिटिविटी रेट बहुत ज्यादा है और केसों की संख्या भी बढ़ रही है, बहुत आ रहे हैं। इस बारे में कई ऐसे इलाकों, ऐसे जिलों में भी ये वृद्धि देखने को मिल रही है। देश के 70 जिलों में तो पिछले कुछ हफ्तों में यह वृद्धि 150% से भी ज्यादा है। अगर हम इस बढ़ती हुई महामारी को यही नहीं रोकेंगे तो देशव्यापी आउटब्रेक की स्थिति बन सकती है।
Addressing the chief ministers, the Prime Minister said that more than 96% of the cases in India have recovered and India is having one of the lowest fertility rates in the world. He noted the need for provision of micro-containment zones. He stressed the need to be serious about test, track and treat as has been done for the last 1 year. He said it is very important to track every infected person's contacts in the shortest time and keep the RT-PCR test rate above 70%. He insisted on more RT-PCR tests in states which give more emphasis to rapid antigen tests like Kerala, Odisha, Chhattisgarh and Uttar Pradesh. The challenge of maintaining COVID-appropriate behavior in the general public was also discussed in light of the recent rise in the number of cases in some states. The Prime Minister remarked that there is a need to identify mutants of coronavirus and assess their effects. He also warned to take the problem of vaccine doses wastage very seriously. He noted the vaccine waste in Telangana, Andhra Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh to the tune of 10%. He urged to immediately correct the drawbacks of planning and governance at the local level to reduce vaccine waste.
The government has said that 70 districts in 16 states have seen an increase in COVID-19 cases by 150% in the last 15 days. Briefing media in New Delhi last evening, Secretary in Health Ministry Rajesh Bhushan said the contribution of active cases as well as the case fatality rate is less than 2%. He said it is significant as some states have seen a surge in COVID-19 cases. The Health Secretary said the cumulative positivity rate in the country has gone down below the 5% mark. He said in the last 1 week the positivity rate has been nearly 3%. The Secretary said 60% of all cases are concentrated in Maharashtra. He said Punjab's positivity rate is now 6.8%. It is worrying and it shows that COVID-19 appropriate behavior is not being followed. The Health Secretary said there has been renewed focus on test, track, treat and vaccinate. Sikkim Chief Minister Prem Singh Tamang has announced a night curfew after 10 p.m. It covers restaurants, bars, discos, pubs and gyms. Vehicular movement will not be allowed after 10:30 p.m. with immediate effect. This comes after the video conference which Prime Minister Narendra Modi held yesterday along with chief ministers on recent rise in COVID-19 cases in the country. The Chief Minister has appealed to people to regularly wear masks and continue to follow social distancing and COVID-19 protocols. The Prime Minister had stressed on strengthening COVID-19 protocols for the prevention of the disease.
A total of 536 new confirmed cases of coronavirus infection were reported in Delhi during the last 24 hours, taking the total number of cases to 6,45,025. The Delhi government said that 6,31,375 people affected with coronavirus have been cured so far. In the last 24 hours, 319 people recovered and 3 deaths were reported in the city. The death toll so far in the national capital stood at 10,948. Presently, the total number of active cases of COVID-19 in the national capital is 2,702. In Bihar, a total of 3,45,179 healthcare workers took the second dose of COVID-19 vaccine. So far, 16,22,661 beneficiaries have been inoculated with vaccine doses since the start of vaccination drive in the state. Chief Minister Nitish Kumar said his government would increase the testing rate for COVID-19 in view of the recent spike in the cases in some parts of the country, even though the situation in Bihar is not as alarming. The Chief Minister said the government is on alert and keeping vigil on people coming from other states, and several people were detected. 2,61,240 patients have recovered from the COVID-19 infection in the state so far. COVID-19 recovery rate has improved to 99.27% in Bihar.
In Jharkhand, the State Health Department, in coordination with the Rural Development Department, has issued directives to intensify the COVID vaccination drive at the Panchayat level. A 3-phased inoculation drive for 7 days starting from March the 19th will be carried out at the Panchayat and the block level. State Health Secretary K.K. Sohn has also directed all the Deputy Commissioners to start mask-checking drive from today onwards. Following Prime Minister Narendra Modi's new mantra of test, track and treat to tackle COVID-19 situation, CM Hemant Soren has directed to inoculate all senior citizens aged above 50 years at the Panchayat and block level. Rural Development Department has issued letters to all concerned authorities to earmark the blocks, register the senior citizens and inoculate them during the 7 days intensified COVID vaccination drive. Presently, around 599 active COVID cases are undergoing treatment in the state, and 730,000 people have been administered with the COVID-19 vaccine in the state. Odisha will soon expand its COVID-19 vaccination centres to 1,000 across the state. The decision has been taken for the convenience of beneficiaries, particularly the senior citizens. More from our Bhubaneswar correspondent.
In view of the rising level of mercury in the state and for the ease of vaccination of the elderly, the state government will soon increase the vaccination centers from about 700 at present to 1,000. Meanwhile, the state has already inoculated more than 14 lakh beneficiaries. That includes the beneficiaries of a little over 1 lakh vaccine doses administered during the last 24 hours. On the other hand, the state has requested the center to consider expanding the categories of frontline workers for the purpose of COVID-19 vaccination. That may include journalists, other media personnel, and staff of the essential services sharing a greater risk exposure to the virus. Girish Chandra Das, EIR News, Bhubaneswar.
The Gujarat government has decided to extend the timing of administering vaccination in the state. Now the vaccine centres will work till 9 p.m. with a target of 3 lakh vaccination on a daily basis. This was decided in a core committee meeting chaired by Chief Minister Vijay Rupani at Gandhinagar yesterday. This will help in expanding the vaccination coverage on a larger scale. More from our Ahmedabad correspondent.
Gujarat government has announced series of steps to check the rising cases of COVID-19 after Prime Minister's interaction with the state chief ministers. After reviewing the current situation, state government has decided to increase the number of testing to find out new containment zones. 4 senior secretary level officers will supervise the situation in 4 major cities, Surat, Ahmedabad, Vadodara and Rajkot, from where maximum new cases are being reported. Chief Minister Vijay Rupani has also asked the State Home Department for strict implementation of COVID-19 protocols, including compulsory mask and social distancing. City bus services, sports club, gym and gardens in Ahmedabad will remain closed until further orders. Yogesh Pandya, AIR News, Ahmedabad.
The government has asserted that the supply of vaccines abroad under the Vaccine Maitri initiative is based on the assessment of adequate availability in the country. The assessment of adequate domestic availability of COVID-19 vaccine is continuously monitored by an empowered committee, which is also overseeing the requirements of the vaccination program. The External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, made a statement on Vaccine Maitri in both the houses of the Parliament yesterday. Terming the initiative as a people-centric diplomacy, Dr. Jaishankar said that Vaccine Maitri has made the world see not just the selfless outlook of India, but also the quality of its products and capabilities. He added that though COVID-19 has been a test of fire for the entire world, the unique initiative of deep friendship under the able leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi raised India's standing and generated international goodwill. The External Affairs Minister informed that Vaccine Maitri began in the immediate neighbourhood and the supply has been extended to other countries. Dr. Jaishankar informed that the domestic producers of the vaccines have also entered into contracts with other nations either bilaterally or through the COVAX route. He added that till date, Made in India vaccines have been supplied to 72 nations across the world. Dr. Jaishankar asserted that embodying the values of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, India also came to the fore as pharmacy of the world even when the pandemic was in full fury. A total 520 Kashmiri migrants have returned to the valley after the abrogation of Article 370, and nearly 2,000 more are expected to return by this year. The migrants have returned to Kashmir for taking up jobs that have been provided to them under the centre's rehabilitation package. This was stated by Minister of State for Home, G. Kishan Reddy, in a written reply in the Rajya Sabha yesterday. The minister said that additional 2,000 migrants will return to the valley upon successful completion of their selection process. The minister said around 3,800 migrant candidates have returned to the Kashmir Valley in the last few years to take up the special jobs given to them under the Pradhan Mantri package announced for the Kashmiri migrant youth.
Union Minister for Road Transport and Highways, Nitin Gadkari, will make a statement regarding vehicle scrapping policy in both the Houses of Parliament today. Besides this, in today's business of the Lok Sabha Appropriation Bill 2021, discussion and voting on demands for grants in respect of the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir for 2021-22 and the demands for grants on account of respect of the Union Territory of Puducherry for 2021-22 and the Constitution Schedule Castes Order Amendment Bill 2021 are listed. In the business schedule of Rajya Sabha, the Insurance Amendment Bill 2021 and the discussion on the working of Ministry of Tourism and Ministry of Food Processing Industries are listed. You're listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi stresses on taking decisive steps to stem nationwide spread of COVID-19. Electioneering gains momentum in poll-bound states. Leaders from various political parties crisscross the states for campaigning. Supply of vaccines abroad under Vaccine Maitri is on assessment of adequate domestic availability, the government informs the parliament. 520 Kashmiri migrants return to the valley after abrogation of Article 370, says Minister of State for Home G. Kishan Reddy in Rajya Sabha. Italy joins the International Solar Alliance under the amended ISA Framework Agreement. Tanzanian President John Magufuli passes away following a heart ailment. In cricket, the fourth T20 match to be played between India and England this evening, and in All England Badminton Championships, mixed fortune for the Indian shuttlers. PV Sindhu advances to the second round, Saina Nehwal knocked out. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
Electioneering has gained momentum in all poll-bound states. In Assam, a total of 345 candidates are in the fray in the second phase of polls. 33 candidates have withdrawn their nomination papers. Senior BJP leader and Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address a rally at Karimganj today. In a tweet, Prime Minister said Assam has witnessed positive changes across various sectors over the last 5 years, and NDA seeks people's blessings to continue the agenda of development. Our Guwahati correspondent files a report on the prominent candidates to fight in the second phase of polls to be held on 1st of April in 39 seats.
Political fate of several senior leaders will be decided in the second phase of polls. For the BJP, Ministers Parimal Suklabaidya, Bhavesh Kalita, Piyush Hazarika and Deputy Speaker Aminul Haq Laskar are in the fray. In Barak Valley, the BJP has fielded former Congress Minister Gautam Rai at Katigara seat. His son is contesting polls as an independent candidate from Katlisara seat, while his daughter-in-law is also an independent candidate at Algapur constituency. Minister and senior BPF leader Rihan Daimari will seek re-election from Udalguri seat. Sitting MLA Kamalekha De Purkastha, senior leader Kishore Kumar Bhattacharya and former minister Siddiq Ahmed would contest for the Congress. Former MP and brother of AIUDF President Sirajuddin Ajmal will contest at Jamunamukh seat. Manas Pratim Sharma, AIR News, Guwahati.
Senior BJP leader and Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit West Bengal today and will address a rally in Purulia. He said across West Bengal there is a desire for change and BJP's agenda of good governance is striking a chord with the people.
The BJP Central Election Committee meeting was held in New Delhi yesterday. The meeting was to finalize the names of candidates for the last 4 phases of assembly polls in West Bengal. The meeting, which took place at the party headquarters, was attended by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, BJP President JP Nadda, Home Minister Amit Shah and other senior leaders. Talking to media after the meeting, BJP leader and Union Minister Babul Supriyo said the name of candidates will be announced in a day or two. The party has already finalized candidates for 4 phases of West Bengal polls. It has also finalized almost all candidates for the assembly polls in Assam, Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Puducherry. In Tamil Nadu, 2,244 contestants, including 401 women and a transgender, filed their nominations for the 234 assembly constituencies yesterday. 5 contestants filed their nominations for the Lok Sabha by-election for the Kanyakumari constituency. The filing of nominations will end tomorrow. Scrutiny will be done on the 20th. Next Monday will be the last date for withdrawal of nominations for the single-phase polls to be held on the 6th of April. Leaders have been crisscrossing the state for electioneering. BJP leader and Union Minister of State for Road Transport V.K. Singh took part in the election rally held at Ramanathapuram yesterday. More from our Chennai correspondent.
Electioneering and COVID awareness campaigns are being held throughout the state. Yesterday's count of COVID is more than 900. In Chennai alone, the count was more than 300. Violation of masks has invited penalties since yesterday. In the election front, more than 300 crore worth unaccounted cash, gifts and jewellery have been seized by the flying squad. The income tax wing also conducted raids in some places on receiving information. State Chief Electoral Officer Satyabrata Sahu told that a report has been sought from the district authorities after after a former minister was found to be distributing cash. Expenditure monitoring committees are vigilant and monitoring the electoral expenses of candidates. Helicopter trips, public rallies, advertisements in electronic, print and social media are being monitored. With Murthy, Joy, AR News, Chennai.
In Telangana, marathon counting exercise of votes for 2 graduate constituencies of Legislature Council is underway. Polling was held in the biennial election for Hyderabad, Rangareddy, Mehboob-Nagar and Nalgonda, Warangal, Khammam graduates constituencies on 14th of this month. The counting of votes began yesterday morning. The counting for Hyderabad, Rangareddy, Mehboob-Nagar constituency, where 93 candidates are in the fray, is underway at the Sarur Nagar Indoor Stadium in Hyderabad. The same is going on in Nalgonda for Nalgonda Warangal Khammam constituency, where 71 candidates are in contest. The counting process is taking time due to the huge number of candidates at both the places. Telangana Finance Minister T. Harish Rao will be presenting the annual budget for the year 2021-22 to the State Legislature Assembly this morning. The Assembly will take up the budget speech at 11:30 a.m. Legislature Affairs Minister V. Prashant Reddy will present the same in Legislature Council at the same time.
Union Minister for Health and Family Welfare Dr. Harshvardhan has been appointed as the chairman of the international body Stop TB Partnership Board. He was appointed in recognition of his outstanding contribution to the movement to eradicate tuberculosis from India by 2025. Dr. Harshvardhan will serve a 3-year term commencing from July this year. The Stop TB Partnership is a unique international body with the power to align actors all over the world in the fight against tuberculosis. Italy has signed the International Solar Alliance under the amended ISA Framework Agreement. The amendments to the Framework Agreement of the ISA entered into force, opening its membership to all the member states of the United Nations. The External Affairs Ministry said the Framework Agreement was signed by Italy's ambassador, Vincenzo De Luca. The signed copies of the agreement were received by Additional Secretary E.R. as the representative of External Affairs Ministry, which is the depository of ISA Framework Agreement. Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla met Italian ambassador to India, Vincenzo De Luca, and welcomed Italy's accession to the International Solar Alliance. They also discussed Italy's G20 presidency and the vaccine Maitri. The International Solar Alliance was launched jointly by the Indian Prime Minister and the French President during the 2015 United Nations Climate Change Conference, or COP21, in Paris. The Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, said the ISA aims to contribute to the implementation of the Paris Climate Agreement through rapid and massive deployment of solar energy and will play an important role in the solar energy sector.
मेरा हमेशा से ये मानना रहा है कि दुनिया की ऊर्जा आवश्यकताओं की पूर्ति के लिए जो भूमिका आज ओपेक निभा रहा है, वही भूमिका आने वाले समय में इंटरनेशनल सोलर अलायंस आईसा की होने वाली है। जो लोग आज तेल के कुओं का है, वही रोल भविष्य में सूर्य की किरणों का होने वाला है।
Tanzania's President John Magufuli has passed away at a hospital in Dar es Salaam. He was 61. In a televised address, Vice President Samia Suluhu Hassan said the president died of a heart ailment that he has battled for over 10 years. She added that the president had been receiving treatment at Mzina Hospital since Sunday. The vice president announced 14 days of national mourning. According to the African country's constitution, Vice President Hassan will be sworn in as the new president and should serve the remainder of Magufuli's 5-year term, which he began last year. While a date for her swearing in has not yet been announced, she will be Tanzania's first female president. Back home in Jammu and Kashmir, Lieutenant General B.S. Raju handed over the command of the strategic Kashmir-based 15 Corps of the Army to Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey. In his farewell message, General Raju complimented all ranks of the Chinar Corps for their dedication and hard work. General Raju moves to his next appointment as Director General of Military Operations of the Indian Army.
The Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat program, launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in 2015, showcases the diverse culture, traditions and languages of the country. Our Gangtok correspondent Parjat Sharma reports that Sikkim has been paired with the national capital, New Delhi. In cricket, India will face England in the fourth T20 match at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad today. The match will begin at 7 p.m. Indian time. England are 2-1 up in the 5-match series after convincing win in the third T20. England defeated India by 8 wickets on Tuesday. The fifth and the final T20 match will be played on Saturday. In All England Badminton Championships, world champion PV Sindhu advanced to the second round, but compatriots Kidambi Shrikant and Parupalli Kashyap suffered early exits after losing their respective opening round men's singles matches. The Indian women's duo of Ashwini Ponnappa and N. Sikki Reddy and the men's doubles pair of Satvik Sairaj Rankireddy and Chirag Shetty also progressed to the second round with straight game wins. Ace Indian shuttler Saina Nehwal was knocked out of the All England Open Badminton Championships 2021 after retiring hurt against Denmark's Mia Blichfeldt.
And now let us take a look at the weather forecast for today. The national capital Delhi, after a misty morning, will have a maximum temperature of nearly 34 degrees Celsius. It registered 18 degrees as the minimum temperature. Mumbai, with a clear sky, will have a maximum temperature of around 35. The city recorded a minimum of 22 degrees. Chennai is likely to have a partly cloudy sky, with temperatures rising up to 32 degrees Celsius. The minimum temperature in the city was 23 degrees. Kolkata, with a partly clear sky, is likely to have a maximum temperature of around 37 degrees, while the minimum was around 24 degrees. Srinagar is likely to see a partly cloudy sky, becoming generally cloudy towards the afternoon. The temperatures will hover between 5 and 17 degrees Celsius. Jammu will have a mainly clear sky, but there is also forecast of partly cloudy sky towards the afternoon. It will have a maximum temperature of around 27 degrees, rising from 15 degrees Celsius. Leh is expected to have a partly cloudy sky. It will have a maximum of 10 degrees Celsius and a minimum of -2 degrees. Gilgit, the temperatures may hover between 7 and 22 degrees Celsius.
And now an overview of today's newspapers. Almost all the newspapers today lead with reports on the Prime Minister's virtual interaction with the Chief Ministers yesterday. Expressing grave concern over the rising cases of COVID-19, the Hindustan Times, quoting the Prime Minister, leads with, "Stop second surge to prevent pan-Indian outbreak." Nip second COVID wave in the bud, PM to CMs, writes the Pioneer. Expressing confidence, the Economic Times, quoting the RBI governor, writes, "Worst over, economy will only move upwards." Reporting on DDA's efforts to make the Yamuna River front accessible to the public, the Hindustan Times headline reads, "Cycle tracks, eco trails and revamp plan for 22-kilometer Yamuna River front." Besides the ongoing project to construct over 3,000-kilometer roads along the boundary with China, another 6,700-kilometer roads to come up along the LAC, writes the Tribune. And finally, the Times of India takes note of a 3-week campaign titled "Let's Make India Literate," wherein people are being encouraged to donate old books and gadgets to educate children who are less fortunate.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi stresses on taking decisive steps to stem nationwide spread of COVID-19. Electioneering gains momentum in poll-bound states. Leaders from various political parties crisscross the states for campaigning. Supply of vaccines abroad under Vaccine Maitri is on assessment of adequate domestic availability, the government informs Parliament. 520 Kashmiri migrants returned to the valley after abrogation of Article 370, says Minister of State for Home G. Kishan Reddy in the Rajya Sabha. Italy joins the International Solar Alliance under the amended ISA Framework Agreement. Tanzanian President John Magufuli passes away following a heart ailment. In cricket, fourth T20 match to be played between India and England this evening. And in All England Badminton Championships, mixed fortune for Indian shuttlers. PV Sindhu advances to the second round. Saina Nehwal knocked out. And with that, we end the morning news. Have a nice day.